Good morning. You're listening to Drinking Socially, the official Untappd podcast.
Your weekly look into what's happening in the Untappd community and the world of beer. This episode is brought to you by Untappd and the Untappd store. Use the coupon code PODCAST to get 20% off your next purchase. That's podcast, coupon code store.untappd.com. Check it out. And as always, if you're not yet, follow us, subscribe, ring bells, leave a review on your favorite podcast review site of the show. Be honest, we can take it. If not, we'll make fun of you, but in a fun way. So don't worry about it. Seriously, though, give us some feedback, follow things, hit bells. We appreciate it. It means a ton. Every time you do, I eat a piece of cake. But don't worry, it's only me doing that, not John, for reasons we'll go into now. So, John, what's happening today? What's going on?
Brilliant segue, Harrison. It reminds me of how old I am when I say this, but it was a long time ago, subjectively and objectively, a long time ago that I learned I have diabetes. I was serving in the United States Army, and I assumed, like so many young soldiers, that I was invincible. And reasonably so. I was 18. I had never experienced pain or trauma before. And I would have never guessed that diabetes was going to be the thing that changed my life or even kicked me out of the service and then had me looking for a brand new line of work. It's a pretty big commitment. They have to get you when you're young to sign a 5-year deal to be a soldier. And before I knew it, I was looking for a whole new line of work. And there was a lot of bumps and adjustments, but dessert beers were nowhere in my line of thought at the time. I remember asking the doctor, like, how much pasta can I eat before this becomes a problem? And the doc was pretty cool. And all jokes aside, like, diabetes isn't technically a joke, but I use humor to overcome everything. And I've been doing it for years. But one thing everyone thinks of when I say I have diabetes is like, oh, you can't eat cake. Sure, neither should you. Cake is generally not a good thing for anyone to consume. But we often use sweets as a means of celebration or comfort. Birthday parties and cakes and graduation parties and Wednesday is sometimes a good reason to celebrate. But dessert beers kind of become a bit of both for me. I love pastry stouts, and I make sure to keep them for special occasions, which sometimes is Wednesday. But I'm grateful for the recent trend, which allows me to enjoy two of my favorite things in one singular can or bottle. So if you have diabetes, it's still worth mentioning that these beers pack a punch, both calorically and ABV-ally and alcohol. They pack a hefty punch. So make sure you grab your diabetes, grab your insulin, check your blood sugar. If you don't have diabetes, just stick around and celebrate with us. But remember, if Harrison eats all the frosting off of your cake, then it's just a snack. And that's a nice little shortcut if you happen to be eating cake with Harrison. But why am I talking about sugar so much? This is a beer podcast, Harrison.
Well, we wouldn't have beer without sugar, John. And these beers we're drinking tonight are no exception to that. So let's talk about that. What are we doing? Well, first and foremost, we're actually celebrating one of Untappd's new core badges. So the wait is over, folks. We've been waiting for a while for these new badges to release. We did so about 2 weeks ago now. And one of them is called Dessert Time, which, as John's alluded to, celebrates pastry stouts. And so the description of the badge reads, marshmallow, chocolate, apple pie, cakes and cookies catch my eye. Churn that butter, twist and shout. Put it in a pastry stout. So tell us the tale right there. Better than Dr. Seuss himself would. A bit of a nursery rhyme. Love it for something that is childlike in its sweetness, but adult-like in its ABV-ness. If we're going to turn that into a verb tonight.
Keep that term going.
Let's do it! But yeah, this is a a badge that's been voted on, asked for forever by the users. So excited to finally have it. Makes sense. This style's exploded over the past couple of years, sometimes literally in the can before you get a chance to drink it. But we'll save that for the Fruited Berliner episode to dive into more of that. But simply put, all you have to do to earn this badge is check into 5-room beers with the style stout, pastry, or stout imperial double pastry on Untappd, which there are a ton. It's so many, in fact, that we figured, why just drink one beer tonight? When there are two of us, let's have 2 beers. Let's get our pastry on. Thank goodness for insulin. What are we starting with, John? What are you going to be pouring tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to start with a beer from Westbrook Brewing. We just did an event with them through North Carolina grocery store, Lowe's Foods. This wasn't part of that event. This beer I've been sitting on for a while. It was a gift from Colby, who works at Untappd, and he does some help with you as well, I think. Doesn't he, Harrison?
He does. Works at Osner, too. We're in the Osner team. He's a great dude and loves the sports. You probably read his blogs about it. Yeah, the Untappd blog. He's breaking down everything worth breaking down on the sports side of things.
Unfortunately, a Houston Texans fan. But anyways, thanks for the beer, Colby. And it's finally time. It's a perfect time to celebrate with a dessert beer. So the one I'm drinking from Westbrook is maple syrup bourbon barrel aged OFYMD. There's a lot of fun we can have with trying to figure out where that name comes from. Right. We talked to Ed Westbrook on the virtual beer hunting. The names seem to come from a lot of different places. I'd be curious where this comes from. But anyway, it's not about the name of the beer. If you're looking for it on Untappd, it's maple syrup bourbon barrel aged OFYMD. It's a pastry stout. Its ABV rating is 12.8%. So it's a biggins.
A lot of
ABV. Yep. Very ABV in this and it's a 22 ounce too, which takes me back a couple of years. I'm really grateful that we don't see these as much anymore.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
I think this should technically be like a beer for sharing. They did share the making of it with Evil Twin. They helped out in collaborating on making this beer. And the description, pastry meets tiki, a pina colada style stout aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels for 22 months.
Wow.
I'm scared. I'm scared to try it. I'm going to pour it into a glass and slowly kind of get some. Yeah.
That's right. As one
While
does.
I'm working on this, Harrison, what are you bringing to the party?
Well, you were kind enough, John, to pay it forward as Colby did to you, and give me a beer I've wanted to have forever. It's got a little bit of that whaleness. I want this beer super bad. Allure around it. Double Stack from Great Notion Brewing Co. So they're kind of Imperial breakfast stout, if you will, maple syrup stout. They call it a maple stout on the can. It's got our long-lost relative Bigfoot, a.k.a. Gigantopithecus, right there. That's right. I know that guy owes me money. But enough about that. Let's talk about the beer. So it is an Imperial double pastry stout. Comes in at 11% ABV. Carries a 4.39 rating on Untappd. And from Great Notion, they say Double Stack is our Imperial breakfast stout fermented with an irresponsible amount of maple syrup and aged on whole bean coffee from local Oregon roasters. So got all the needs for a breakfast stout, everything you need for one, and the ABV to boot. So we're both kind of diving into the deep end here tonight and really just riding that pastry stout train right to a nap live here for you all to watch. Wow. So as I pour mine and get a face full of waffles, John, what's happening over there in Pina Colada Tiki Stout Land? What's happening? Tell me about this crazy sounding beer.
There's here you go, Peter Bolt, who listens from Korea. There's a lot going on in this one. like a lot. I could say that 5 times and not even get to the tasting portion of this beer. The legs on the glass, like after I sip the glass, there's so much residual sugar in this beer. It like coats the side of the glass for a while. That's how you know you're getting into something good. The nose smells like a mystery of old sweet anger, and the flavor, the tiki part, I'm kind of grateful for this because like a pina colada pineapple stout was a little bit scary for me, and I don't get much of that pineapple in the first sip. We'll see what happens as this warms up. There's a little bit of coconut, and it's like condensed brown sugar surrounded by this oozy boozy. It's good. It's good. This is going to be a fun podcast to drink through. It's a really big beer.
It's a big
I would
beer
say
in a big bottle.
this probably ranks about 4, maybe 5 units of insulin to get through this one.
Right.
If there are any diabetics listening, sorry.
That sounds amazing. Another way of putting that, it's like 12 Radlers or 6 Radlers or something worth of beer. If you're more of a Radler unit of measurement kind of guy, that sounds awesome. Cool.
How's Double Stack hitting you? Maple is one of my favorite adjunct or flavors in the world. That's an awesome new glass you got there, Harrison.
Right, yeah, picked it up at Hey Beer today. They're retro little kind of Tiku without the bottom. I'm sure there's a better name for it. A snifter kind of.
Bottomless TQ sounds pretty cool.
That sounds hip.
It's also a cool bar name.
It's a cool bar name. Cool band name. Anyway, so this is wild. I wasn't joking when I opened it up. It was like someone blew up a bunch of waffles in the same room. What it smells like, really, if I get really specific though, for the one person that'll get this, it smells like, remember that cereal waffle crisp? Did you ever come across that as a child?
We were poor growing up.
Well, this came in a bag and was on the bottom shelf, I think. This was bulk. This was bulk cereal.
Yes. Cereal in bags. I know this.
But so it's post-made it. It was kind of like, I guess, their attempt at going after Cinnamon Toast Crunch and whatever. It smells like that. It's like this intense, and they had to create those, I'm sure, maple syrup flavors with intense chemicals. This is real. This goes to show you how much is probably in here, and they do say an irresponsible amount, but it was kind of surprising how much like waffles and syrup filled the room from just opening it, and that's what I'm getting. And it stays true through the actually drinking it as well. It's tons of waffle, maple syrup flavor. You get a little bit of the coffee on the back end, kind of like traditional kind of dark brewer or baker's chocolate coffee notes. But this is like a waffle beer. This is amazing, and it does not taste like 11%. Thank goodness they legally have to put the ABV on these beers, because I'm my own worst enemy here. I would just inhale this if I didn't have a small voice in my head going, "You have a podcast to do. Don't you know where that road goes? You should take your time with this." No one gets drunk on a podcast. Yeah, that's right. Never in the history of anything. But thank you, John, for sharing this with me, because this is wild. I mean, this is delicious.
And so the beers we're drinking today are labeled on Untappd as pastry stouts,
right?
Which is important because I've had a lot of stouts with adjuncts added to them, but the only way that you'll earn this new core badge is by making sure the beer that you're checking in has that pastry stout style associated with it on Untappd.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Here's a question I want to ask you, Harrison. We're talking about, in my beer, pineapple and coconut and maple. In your beer, it sounds like maple and coffee. What's I'm going to put you on the spot, if you can, as a culinarian. What's a good unused ingredient that you don't see enough of in a pastry stout?
Well, really, I mean, if you're looking at pastry stouts in the simplest terms, just being kind of like an unofficial beer style that is mimicking like sweet, rich, dessert-like things, I mean, I wonder if someone could make like, and in fact, you may have given me, I think it was a sour beer, but like, I want the, great, we got dark stouts and stuff. Obviously, it's a pastry stout. Jumping in on this, where's the carrot cake? Where's the carrot cake pastry stout? Someone make me taste carrot cake
Ooh.
in a glass, and you have my attention. So I haven't seen it yet. It's probably out there. I mean, if I've learned anything, it's that if I've thought it up, 7 brewers have already made it.
It's already
been around for years and all that stuff. But that was the first one that came to my head was where are the carrot cake stouts? Give me the carrot cake stouts. What about you, John? Anything come to mind for you of what's been underutilized in this pastry stout game?
I'm going to borrow from you and say like cream cheese or cheesecake. I think it's disgusting to think about like a cream cheese stout. That sounds gross, but I would definitely buy one if I saw it on the shelf. And I think it's that like kind of tangy cream cheese flavor that you get in the carrot cake frosting or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would taste like, but probably wouldn't. I mean, like I said, I would gladly try one. And for pastry stouts, for big, these are 11, 12, 13 almost % for this one.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a 6-pack. I just want one really fun beer for a day or night or good morning, whenever you're listening.
Right, a pre-nap, a pre-sleep. Whatever happens next is sleeping. So cancel your plans. Jump on that pastry stout. Grab your insulin. All that fun stuff.
And this is a brand new, a couple of weeks old badge for Untappd, Harrison. How many, have we got any data on, have people started unlocking this already, or is there any particular favorites?
Not surprising, right? Jumped right on it. And again, it's such a popular style. So already, as of us recording this, there's about 6,000 unlocks of this brand new badge. So really cool to be checking in on it so early in its existence. And it's one we'll keep tabs on and stuff, and probably revisit next season, if not sooner, because there are just so many interesting things going on in this gigantic, really pretty open-ended style. But some highlights so far from breweries that are grabbing a lot of these check-ins. It's kind of all over the place, but Basqueland Brewing in Spain, their Chocolate Clouds holds the #1 spot, just barely above Northern Monk. It looks like they did like a collaboration with Emperor's Brewery and Saints Croissants and Culinary Concepts and Imperial Banana Cronut Stout. Cronuts!
Wow,
that's a good one.
A flavor that I would have said I need more of, but Northern Monk, is that the Patrons Project series they do?
That's it. That's indeed, it's one of the Patrons Project series. So that's an amazing addition. Cronut and banana coming together. It's one of those happy things you didn't know you wanted or never imagined until you sipped it, I would think. And a bunch of people on Untappd know. And after that, a collaboration between Humble Forager and Untitled Art, their Trail Mix Stout, and then actually Humble Forager themselves stargazing with 8th Street, which I imagine is collaboration with 8th Street, or 8th State, excuse me. Let me look into that. But it is the 8th State Brewing Company. So some pretty impressive entries so far. That most recent one, Stargazing with 8th State, is a pastry stout packed with toasted coconut, roasted hazelnuts, Madagascar vanilla beans. The beer is working, and toffee. So what else have you seen, John? Do you take a look too and see anything that jumped out to you of some of these early movers in the pastry stout badge game?
Yeah, one that I saw the name of Arche Brewery out in, I think they're in Ohio. I want to say they're in Akron, Ohio.
Cool.
Last I looked into Arche's, they were kind of small, like taproom only, but it was nice to see they were in one of the top 10 beers that help people unlock this badge. I saw a beer from the brewery, like the brewery.
Yes.
Those guys, every beer they make could almost be a pastry stout if only they wanted to apply that style. I think the most exciting thing that I see here is when we've done a lot of badges like the Beach Bum badge, where you had a lot of kind of big brand beers in there, and it's really cool to see this one. Every one of the beers and breweries that's helping people unlock this comes from like a really cool small craft brewery. And I'd imagine that makes sense because if I was distributing across the entire country, it'd be hard to get enough maple syrup, right?
That's right. You have to grab the whole state of Vermont and shake it into your mash tun. And that's impossible, at least in the current dimension we all live in. But yeah, definitely ingredients become a barrier for what used to be hops. But yeah, now pastry stouts probably I don't know if there'll be I'll probably be drinking my words, but a nationally distributed brewery that can crank out a pastry stout. Stone's probably doing it as I speak, but whatever. Good, great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going into Kroger, we'll take all these cakes, all these pies, load them up.
We need them for something, right? Put them in the truck. It's definitely an expensive beer to make, but delicious. I mean, innovation is everywhere you look in this industry. It's so fun to be alive now and getting to drink it all. Speaking of drinking things ourselves, how are we doing on this brand new badge, you may be asking? Well, let's find out, John. How's it going with you on the Pastry Stout, the dessert time badge so far?
Yeah, since the badge is brand new, I don't feel too bad admitting that I'm at a level 4 here. And since the badge is brand new, I also want to clarify that I haven't drank 22 pastry stouts in the last couple of weeks.
Good.
That would be medically
dangerous.
Inadvisable.
Nope.
Don't do that. What happens when Untappd releases a new core badge, if you, in your user settings, if you've selected to enable retroactive badges, when I checked into my first pastry stout, it went through and tallied every pastry stout I've ever drank, and immediately I started at level 4 for this one. And I got some really good help from Wicked Weed. A little while ago, they released a 4-pack variety of pastry stouts, and it was fun to drink through, and also just about gave me a level up drinking through that. Which took a while. They were in my fridge for about 4 months, but yeah, a celebratory beer, aren't they all? But I don't know, pastry stout's one of those things where I'm probably not going to order it during the game or any random time. I'm going to, like this beer, have it in my closet for almost a year before I find a reason to open it. What about you, Harrison? I know these aren't typically your style. You're more of an eat your pastry person, and I'm jealous of that. But
I know. Yeah, well, I know.
I eat mine too. I'm not gonna lie.
I know it's hard. They're, tough to resist. Well, they didn't taste so good, but then no one would care about them.
Probably kale.
Right.
There's a reason we don't drink kale stouts.
Right. We didn't live in the woods, huddled by fires, terrified of saber-toothed tigers for hundreds of thousands of years to now not eat awesome pastries and celebrate the freedom of being in an air-conditioned house and not having to worry about anything. So we've made it to the top, and the top looks like pastry stouts. That's the preferred meal and pastries of an apex predator. If we're all honest,
please.
Right? Just slowing us down as the bears grow in numbers. We're all going to be too slow to fight them when they finally make their move. But enough about that. So for me, I have not earned this badge yet. I have retroactive badges enabled, and really the only pastry stout I've checked in on Untappd is another one, thanks to John. So I like to think I'm helping you out, removing the pastry stouts from your home and drinking them myself. Pastry Works from Froth Brewing out in Buffalo that you brought back from visiting there, which I was much appreciative of that. It was an amazing beer, and it's on the badge for this season of the podcast. So if you've grabbed it too, good on you. Make sure to check it in so you can keep leveling up the Drinking Socially badge. But maybe. This is amazing. If this beer, the double stack, qualifies, great. Give me, well, I guess it won't help with the badge much. It's different beers, but give me things like this in the winter, which in North Carolina lasts 2 weeks, and I'll make my way through it. But yeah, it's tough as I sit here knowing the sun's going down and it's still 90 degrees out to want to drink a big, thick sweet stout. It's tough to get there, but again, this is amazing. So what do I know? Love this podcast, making me try different things all the time. So we're working on it. This will be number 2 of 2 when I check this.
I'm honored to help you with both of them. I guess if you want to help level up your dessert time badge, just go find a diabetic person, make them your beer drinking friend.
Right. Help them and help yourself.
Yeah, you'll be doing us all a favor and yourself in the badge game. Here's a quick tangent, Harrison. Would you rather that all desserts tasted like beer? So I'm going to pollute your donuts and your coffee cakes and they're all going to taste like beer. Or would you rather every beer taste like dessert? Which is fun sometimes, but this means your lagers taste like carrot cakes.
Yeah, always. And that I can't live in that world. You know, whenever we jump into these Would You Rathers, I always put my journalist hat on and my detective pipe, and I ask questions. I gotta feel it out a little bit. I'm like right. What's this? I'm just in a dark room looking for the switch, but the light switch. I gotta find out what's going on. So I guess I hear this: all desserts taste like beer, or all beers taste like dessert. Maybe I don't have many questions here. It seems pretty self-explanatory. I would, my gut reaction is, right, I need a lager that tastes like a lager. Otherwise, what are we here for? What are we doing? But all desserts taste like beer. I did see recently that, I think it was Cedar Creek Brewing out in Martinsville, Indiana, started making beer ice cream. They have like a machine they pour their beer into, mix it with some gel, and then it becomes ice cream. But they say don't call it ice cream. There's no dairy. They called it something that a marketing person would go, I can't believe you just said that. It was like, frozen beer on a cone, which doesn't sound exciting. So it's beer ice cream, kind of.
Beer cones.
Yeah. But so that was curious to me. That was a dessert itself built like to taste like beer. But for me, I think this, as much as I'd be curious that, right at the end of the day, I grab that donut and it tickles both the pastry thing and the beer thing. I think I'd be 100 more pounds probably, and just be. Imagine that bar, people cheersing donuts and cakes and like chugging. Can you chug a cake? I guess you just kind of inhale it when you're celebrating like someone's birthday. Right? That would change bar culture. It'd be much messier. We'd probably all have
every piece of cake is only 3 bites big.
Right. If you believe in yourself enough, that's right. Every beer can be 2 sips. Every piece of cake can be 3 bites. I'm with you there, but I'm just trying to imagine this world we all live in, where we're going to bars that are now dessert bars. I bet like custom bibs with a little catcher, that would be a market to get in early there. Kind of Vera Bradley, you have your own custom bib, and it catches your cake for later, and you're cheersing your buddy's promotion.
Tying your bib on.
That's right. Having some lobster? No, I'm having beer cheesecake. Oh, okay. Good for you. So that just sounds like, we're 6 months away from no one can walk, and we're all, just having to move around our rascals because we've put on 1,000 pounds. But who knows? Maybe our bodies would adapt. I think all dessert tastes like beer is dangerous. All beers taste like dessert is not what I want. But I guess if I have to pick one, I'm going all desserts taste like beer. Sure, more beer. Great, whatever. More beer all the time. I just can't lose my lager. You're right, John. You kind of said everything that needed to be said at the top of this. At the end of the day, I need that crispy boy, that crispy kid sitting there saying, now's the time. Punch out.
Really, what I was asking you is, do you like beer more than dessert? And
I guess
your answer shouldn't be easy, but I'm glad that you went with beer.
I know, because I'm more, if it was, and maybe I handicapped myself here, because dessert, right, we're talking obvious stuff like cakes and whatever, or other desserts that I can't think of. Pastry, though, that sends me to breakfast. That sends me to, like, croissant that's covered in icing for some reason, or a donut, a cronut. That's tougher for me to walk away from. I may need those. But we didn't say that. We said desserts. Sure. I guess I'll give up cake if it means I can keep my lagers. And that's it. That's the hot take there on the Would You Rather for me.
Here's a real hot take follow-up. When you said it previously, if you want to hit the back button and go back like 30 seconds, Harrison called it a croissant. Is it when you're out and about or entertaining family? And I'm asking you listening as well, if you want to hit us in the comments, if you're on YouTube, is it croissant or croissant?
Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's go.
Don't answer it on the air, Harrison. You've already messed yourself up, you Frenchman. You let it out.
Probably did. Did I?
Yeah. You said croissant. Right. You didn't quite get into like 3 years in Paris. But
right. Right. Yeah. Didn't start telling you about all the time I spent overseas. Yeah, I'm not that. I don't want to be that guy because I haven't spent any. Yes, this Bigfoot juice is getting to me. It's making my brain tickle. Speaking of...
Yes, tickling your brain and traveling. There's a place I want to talk about that is not
Let's do it.
French.
Okay.
But I'm going out of my wheelhouse here. There's a bar called Tap Tap, and it's either the beginning of a really scary film, like
that's great.
Right, that would petrify me.
It's in the house.
It's just a bar called Tap Tap, and it's in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which I'll admit, working at Untappd, I'd looked at Brazil as for a while, like a wasteland for craft beer. Like it wasn't, Brazil hadn't quite embraced push innovation in craft beer years and years ago. And you look there now, there's brewers, there's the one thing I don't understand how to pronounce is that they generally call their taps or their tap houses chop houses. Right. And I think that's just a Portuguese thing. I wish I understood better, but I'm asking, if you know the answer, help me out. But we want to feature for this week our verified venue highlight, a bar called Tap Tap out in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Carlos has been running this bar since 2018. So he's got some years under his belt. And the quarantine affected him like it did so many of us and our favorite drinking places. Mm-hmm. But Carlos, not content to sit by and watch, he actually started producing content for other people to watch, and it's kind of taken off. Like anybody listening or watching this podcast should have heard of the brewery Other Half. They're pretty outstanding. And Carlos and Tap Tap actually had Other Half on their Instagram doing a live stream talking about beer. I can't even get Other Half here in North Carolina, but so the reason we're highlighting Tap Tap today is because it's hot out, and perhaps maybe we're getting close to some sort of summer travel season, and Sao Paulo has become a place that you can go and experience great beer. And Tap Tap has maybe if not some of the best local Brazilian beer on offer as well. So if things do go well and you're able to, and you're looking for a place to go get away for the summer and Sao Paulo comes up, please check out Tap Tap. If you live in Sao Paulo, I'm jealous. But in that case, definitely check out Tap Tap. Go in, ask for Carlos, have a beer, check it in on Untappd. You can pull up their beer menu and you can see it's almost all Brazilian beer when I looked at their menu at the time we were recording this. Harrison, when you start to travel again, if that ever happens as a father and, an old man, but when you do travel, when you go out someplace, like you were in Asheville not too long ago, what do you do? Are you looking for like a bottle shop or a brewery that you want to go to? Does that influence where you travel to?
Yep. Or right. I mean, usually, right. You're right. We're going as a family somewhere, so I kind of bit the reverse. I find out where we're gonna go, and then jump right on Untappd and figure out where's the closest bottle shop, where's the closest brewery. There's one right there. It's, half a mile from a hotel. Hey, honey, I have an idea of a hotel we should stay at. And then I recommend that. And there we go. Put the kids to bed
just
at the end of the day. And I'm going to go look around. I got to make a phone call. Then I go look at that brewery. So that's really, that happens a lot. I'll jump on Untappd all the time, whether we're going somewhere new, somewhere we've been, whatever the case may be. And see what's closest to me, how can I influence where we go on this trip to be closer to some awesome bottle shop or some brewery. Asheville was a great example of that. I mean, we went to the Whale. We got to hang out with those guys. Got to go to the Blue Door nearby. That was it's a great bottle shop. So, and that was not by accident. To those that we literally were like had a house in between both those towns. So, Untappd. Check Untappd where you travel. You can't book a hotel through it yet, but maybe you can influence which hotel you get to based on what you find at Untappd. So, that's a little pro tip for me. You can always be a couple steps away from an awesome beer spot if you know where to look. Speaking of looking and beer and things that we drink, John, what was the best beer you had this week?
You know what? The first thing that comes to mind is a beer that I had from a brewery we're going to be talking to and featuring on the podcast soon. True Colors Brewery.
Yes.
I got an unlabeled kind of pre-release can of their True Light Lager. And to the best of my understanding, it's a light lager. It tastes like that. But what I really liked talking to some of the True Colors team was the mission behind this brewery. I mean, yes, I was drinking a light lager. It was hot out. I was in a really happy place. But as I was drinking it, I started to listen and learn about what they're doing. And it kind of made me feel like I was doing something good while I was drinking a beer. And that is, by definition, it's a win-win. So True Light is what they're going to be calling it. And we're going to be featuring them on the show pretty soon. And that was the first beer that came to mind, Harrison. What about you? I'm going to throw you under the bus and say that it's probably a Hop Fly beer because it's getting into summer and I haven't heard their name in a while. But what do you got?
Yes, usually you're right, John. I'm kind of guilty of talking about Hop Fly or maybe Flying Machine. I brought up Dissolver before. This week, it was all three! So I was living my best life over the 4th of July weekend in between cans of Gansett and crushing it like Quint. I went through this really cool triple collaboration that the Dissolver, Hopfly, and Flying Machine did where they each brewed an IPA, a double IPA, and a triple IPA together. So it was like, a triple collab, which is amazing. All kind of playing off of this inside joke I don't get yet, but maybe the internet understands it more, about something with a duck. One of the beers is called, it's actually a duck grinder. I don't know what that means. Another beer I think is just called It's a Duck. So lots of duck jokes, which I get coming from New England myself. Fuzzy Baby Ducks was a really big kind of early New England style IPA. They called it Fuzzy Baby Ducks for, I don't know, because the beer looked like a fuzzy baby duck. It was yellow and fluffy and whatever.
Is that the one that used to be Gandhi
Bot? Maybe. The Gandhi Bot was the beer. Now it's G-Bot. So that was their double IPA with Gandhi Bot. But the Fuzzy Baby Ducks is a New England they make, and they also make double Fuzzy Baby Ducks, and I think they even do like Super Fuzzy Baby Ducks or something now, a bigger one. But anyway, I enjoyed the Fly Machine, Hop Fly, Dissolver collabs, had all three. They were amazing, but the whole theory was to kind of get behind, to build a similar beer, so the same base malt, same hops, but then kind of jack it up, make a single IPA, a double, and a triple, and adjust the hop bill size accordingly. So the beers all had similar characteristics, but the ABV kept going up, and up. And I had a great weekend, lots of Independence Day, lots of me yelling at aliens on the TV. The kids don't get it, but they will. And yeah, it was a great time had by all. But that was wasn't what I was expecting the weekend to be. Thought it was be light lagers and grilling, but Hopfly and Fly Machine and Dissolver sent me down a path I'm happy they did. A really cool collaboration that, I've never seen before. Kind of done that way, where three breweries get together, make three different beers that are kind of similar, kind of different. But so today, jumping to the present, Had a blast. Had dessert for dinner. We're still alive, so that's good. Our pancreases haven't dropped out of our bodies yet, but I guess the night's still early. There goes John, Supermaning the beer.
Oh,
that was a risky.
It's the bottom of the pastry stouts that have the most flavor.
That's where the pastry, just a cake probably down there by now. Just a whole, like a parfait, the bottom of the parfait. It's the best part. You got to work for it, though. Had a word around that maybe someone learned something from. And, I got to take a virtual trip down to Sao Paulo. Tap looks awesome. I mean, you're right. Every brewery that's on that list right now are the ones that I've heard of from Brazil that are doing impressive stuff. So they've come a long way fast in that craft beer world. And that was cool to hear from them. And maybe we'll be talking to Carlos soon on Instagram. So stay tuned. Follow us where you're supposed to follow us. Twitter, Instagram, podcast on Untappd.com. Wherever you follow podcasts, jump on there and do so, because we're trying to do fun stuff for you. And leave a comment, reviews, however you want to reach out to us. Great. Do it. We want to hear what you want to hear about.
Yep.
And
just get it. Just load up Untappd's social media with
keep going.
croissant versus croissant.
Please,
make them wonder what the heck is happening.
Right. Just make croissant trending. Just comment croissant. Let's do that for a week.
And coming up next week, next Wednesday, when we greet you in the morning, get ready for it. We're going to have some of the folks from True Colors Brewing on the podcast. They're going to be talking about their mission, their beer, and how they're planning on going from who is True Colors to, I can get them in my local store or bar, hopefully all before the next year. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from them about what they're doing and what they're trying to do with that brewery.
That's right. So fasten your seatbelts and wax your moonroof for that one. But until then, everybody, cheers!